Ooh. Who's there? What up? Candace? Tetty? Johnny? Rod? Becca, I am scared already. Hi, Carolyn. Pete, my connection should be no problem. I can't help you with those other guys. Shout out to the best goddamn viewers on YouTube. Hey, you know what? It kind of sets the mood a little bit. I want to talk about some movies, some scary movies. I like to watch my scary movies in the dark. So, bad news, I'm alone tonight. But that's cool because you know what? Then I can just talk about what I want to talk about without being interrupted. So it's good. Cheers, everyone. Don't forget your Jack and Gingers. Watching Cult of Chucky. It's on AMC. Fear Fest. I've had AMC on like nonstop the last 2 days. So nice shout out. I love AMC's Fear Fest. They just marathon like so many good scary movies. Now they are censored, which is, kind of stinks, but that's okay. That's okay, Tetty. We're going to learn you about some scary movies tonight. So, before I get into it, what's up, Titan? I don't know what that means. You hate scary movies thanks to me? You should like them thanks to me because I watched them so much. First of all, before I get into it, quick shout out for my Philadelphia Eagles, please. #1 record in the NFL. Feels good, man. Really damn excited. Exorcism movies freak you out, huh? That was one scary movie last night. We're not talking about it. We're drama free over here. Holy shit. They will just blow it in NFC Championship. Yeah, probably. But it's fun right now. Look, buddy, there's 31 teams that are disappointed every year. The longer my team lasts, the more fun I'm going to have. Not really, Laura. I don't want to talk about it. I don't give a shit. I tuned in just to see what was going on. I've kind of separated myself from all that. I just really don't want to deal with it. We're all about positivity around here. Can we throw some shade? Fuck yeah, we can throw some shade. But are we trying to be hateful motherfuckers? No. It's all good in the hood. Somebody put my hashtag in the comments. You know what I'm talking about. I'll wait. I know one of my girls got it. That's the wrong one, Olga. Becca got it. There you guys go. Triple R. Don't like scary movies. Don't like any of those in my... I saw Psycho at age 6. Ruined me for life. Psycho is amazing. So, here's what we're going to do. We gave our shout out to the Eagles. Gave my shout out to the Christians. And lift your glasses. Let's have a toast. Cheers. And for tonight, I put a little something together. I want to talk about something I'm really familiar with and really enjoy, and that is the Friday the 13th series. We're really mostly just going to touch on parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. The reason for that is those are the best ones, plain and simple. And that's kind of, the series was supposed to end after part 4. But, I mean, you know Hollywood. Part 4 made so much money that the studios just kept saying, let's pump out more and more and more. And they got more and more ridiculous and less believable. But early on, it was seriously just fantastic slasher film at its finest. And we're gonna break into it. And I'm gonna do a little presenting because I got some pictures put together. And with these pictures, some of them are small. And I'm kind of trying to do a little bit of a slideshow deal to accompany my chat. So maximize your screens. Or if you really want me to zoom on a picture, just holler and I will. So anyway, we'll talk about these first 4 films and then kind of buzz through the rest of it. And if there's any films you guys want me to talk about, just holler. Super chat's always welcome, not required. Dragon Diane says, "Hi Bill, why no lights?" We're trying to get a little creepy in this mofo. All right, thanks again to the best fans in the world. I love you guys. Hi, Danielle. Hi, I married Victor Newman. Okay, I'm ready to go. Let's begin. Let's start with Friday the 13th, the original. This is the movie that started it all. Came out in 1980. I think by now everyone knows, but Jason is not the killer in this movie. We're basically introduced to Camp Crystal Lake, and we have some camp counselors that are getting ready for the young campers to show up. They need to get the camp ready, do some maintenance, all that, and they're being stalked. Here, I just wanted to show. I mean, for 1980, this was amazing. Really intense kills. Really suspenseful stalking. Here we have crazy old Ralph, who warns everybody that the camp is cursed. And he was a nice touch. Alice is our main protagonist. She's the one that's going to square off. All right. Sorry about that. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael, for taking care of me. In my, I thought I was sharing the right application, but I wasn't. Okay, we're good. We're back on board. Slight technical difficulty. Okay, anyway. Here's crazy old Ralph. And this is Alice, our main protagonist. Alice is cool. Here we have Mrs. Voorhees. No one really saw this coming, especially if you were like around my age and you didn't see this movie when it came out. We associated Jason Voorhees with Friday the 13th. So, later when I was around 10 years old or so, and I saw this movie for the first time, I was expecting Jason. And Jason's mom ends up appearing and stalking all the camp counselors. Thanks, Becca, for the $5 super chat. Hashtag slot family. Thank you so much. The iconic Camp Crystal Lake. We would revisit this for many installments to come. Just want to take a look at the counselors here. We introduced Kevin Bacon. I mean, are you kidding me? You want to start out a franchise, you bring in Kevin Bacon. There were some really nice special effects in this film, especially they made it for next to nothing. And it's why we got so many future movies, because it made a lot of money on a small budget. And then they figured out, hey, we've got something here. You're looking at a lot of dead camp counselors. During the movie, they're doing various things, painting the sheds for the campers, and these two are hooked up, and the first night they're out by the lake and it starts to storm, and so they decide to go take shelter in a cabin. And unfortunately for young Kevin Bacon, he didn't really make it. He got an arrow shoved through the back of his neck. Lucky for him, though. I mean, I can't think of a much better way to go. He banged his girlfriend out and then was smoking a joint. So he's pretty much in complete ecstasy. He had a great final night, so you can't feel too bad for him. And he wasn't expecting it. Real quick. Sorry, Kevin. Rest in peace, brother. The final showdown is with Alice and Mrs. Voorhees. And right next to the Crystal Lake, she is decapitated by Alice. Rumor has it that Jason witnessed the whole thing. Now, Jason had drowned in Camp Crystal Lake about 30 years earlier. When Alice wakes up the next day, she's in a canoe. And does this really happen? Does she just imagine it? It's not quite clear. But when the police show up, there's some really nice music playing, and she thinks that everything's going to be okay. And young Jason comes out of the lake, grabs her, and pulls her under. She later wakes up in a hospital bed and asks the sheriff where the young boy is, the boy that pulled her into the water. They say they didn't find any boy. Friday the 13th was going to set up a long line of kills by a man that we'll meet in the next film. And this one did a great job of pulling us all in. So when Friday the 13th Part 2 opens up, we see Alice. She's still coping with the events from the first film. She's in her house. She's talking to her mom on the phone. The camera just kind of follows her around while she, feeds a cat, does a couple other things, gets in the shower. Typical shit. And she goes to her fridge and sees a decapitated head inside of her fridge, and that is when Jason takes a screwdriver and puts it through her head and kills her. So unfortunately, Alice didn't get to stick around and be our hero. She was not long for this world. But she took out Mrs. Voorhees first, so rest in peace, Alice. Yo, Teddy says, can I put some scary movie music in the background? You know what? That's a good idea. Tell you what. I want to put something on, and I want to know, you guys tell me if you can hear it and you can hear me talk at the same time. Sound good? All right, sound check. You guys tell me if you can hear it. Sounds good? Cool. Let's continue. Of course, this is Friday the 13th, Part 2 soundtrack. Probably the best of the whole series. Here we have the campers. This guy is paralyzed from the waist down, and he's going to have a really fun death. I know it's one of Nick's favorite, Slot Titan. Man, I love this soundtrack. It's so good. Right here is Ginny. So this time around, she's our protagonist. They're actually gathered around the campfire, and Paul, pictured here, is telling the story about Jason. He's telling the legend, and everyone's really getting into it. After there's another camper that's going to jump out and scare them, but they all kind of laugh it off. But Ginny is actually intrigued by the story. She thinks there's something to it. Maybe it's not just a legend. Maybe there's actually something to it. Maybe Jason's really out there. Well, she's going to find out that he is. Later on, these two decide to wander off. They want to go check out Camp Blood and see what's really going on there. Well, the cop, there he is. He finds them, brings them back to camp. They get in trouble. Paul says, no seconds on dessert for these two. The cop's not too pleased. Well, when he's driving back, he sees a figure jump into the woods. So he follows him to this shack, which we'll show later. And in the shack, he sees a pretty disturbing sight, which we're also going to show later. And Jason puts a hammer in the back of his head. Ouch. Looks painful. Here, these two are getting ready to hook up. I just want to point out, there were some incredible kills and effects in part 2. Pretty standard fare, so you basically have the same thing. They're going to take, in every one of these films, they're going to introduce the campers. They're going to waste some time getting to know the characters, getting to know what's going on with Jason, and then the stalking and the killing will begin. There were some pretty epic kills in this movie. Here, the pervert gets hung upside down and his neck slashed. Here's Nick's favorite. He's waiting for his booty call to come back, and he gets a machete right through his face, and then the wheelchair goes tumbling down the stairs. Epic. Unfortunately, poor old Crazy Ralph got the axe too. Rest in peace, Ralph. Here's our first shot of Jason. This look is so fucking good. I don't even know where they came up with this. Anyone not familiar with this series is probably going, well, where the hell's the hockey mask? We'll get into that. It comes in a later film. The introduction of Jason has him wearing like a potato sack with a hole cut out for his eye. Little rope tied around the neck. And he rolls with a pickaxe. Got some overalls on. I mean, this just looks like a freak that's living in a shack in the middle of the woods that doesn't know his own head from his ass. But epic look. I love it. I still love it to this day. You see this I'm going to be more scared of this motherfucker if I'm alone in the woods than I am some guy with a hockey mask on. I'm just telling you that right now. If you don't even have the sense to cut out 2 eye holes, you don't know what the fuck's going on, and you don't care. Good old Jason. So, Jason goes around killing. Jenny and Paul actually went out to a bar drinking with some friends. When they come back, they find out that something's wrong. And they're going to encounter Jason. And that's when the chase begins. While Jenny's trying to escape Jason, she wanders into the woods and, lo and behold, finds the same shack that our sheriff got killed in earlier. We're going to find out what he saw when he entered the shack. And it's fucked up. You see the bodies of Jenny's friends laying around on the floor. And on the table, you guessed it, that is Mrs. Voorhees' decapitated head sitting on top of her sweater. Little candlelit vigil going on. You see this, you just shit yourself on the scene. That's incredible. The people that did the set design for this movie were really thought outside the box. And just the character design, I mean, I really touched on Jason already. But then to have the final showdown be in this shed with Jason's mom head surrounded by candles on top of a table. Yeah, Francis, like I said earlier, I can definitely zoom on some of these if you guys want me to. But for some reason, my slideshow won't let me keep them enlarged. So I have to do it individually. Drew, that's some nice trivia right there. And you're hearing the chase music right now. So anyway, Jason follows her into the shed, and she confuses him. She puts on the sweater, this disgusting sweater with a head on top of it. She distracts him and confuses him. She talks to him as though she's his mother. And while he's distracted, there's a tussle because Paul catches up, and she puts a machete into his shoulder. They leave back at the cabin. Jason comes through the window and attacks Jenny, this time without the sack on his head. And you can see just what a fucked up individual he is. One of the scariest moments in a movie I've ever seen. You can see he's got long red hair on half of his head, a beard. He's got kind of a sloth face going on. And a flannel shirt. I mean, Jesus Christ, who the hell wears flannel? Besides Al Borland. Anyway, he grabs Jenny, pulls her through the window, and then it cuts to black, and then she wakes up the next day. And it's as if it was a dream, and he never really attacked her. Well, it was a dream. This is probably my favorite installment in the series. The movie ends with this shot of Jason's mother's head. Let's zoom in. And there's barely any music playing either. So, we're going to roll credits. That's Friday the 13th, Part 2. Next, we have Friday the 13th, Part 3, which was actually released in 3D back in 1982, I believe. They were just rolling these out one year after another. When you watch this movie, you'll be able to pinpoint where the 3D effects were. It's pretty silly, but also kind of charming. This is an important movie in the franchise, and you'll see why. You gotta like this tagline: "A new dimension in terror." A little play on words there. So the movie opens up where Jason left off in Part 2. He's laying on the floor of the shed, and he has the machete still stuck in his shoulder. Still pretty believable. Later in the series, the stuff that he comes back from is ridiculous. But these first few movies, you can buy it. When you watch the movie, I mean, he's a big ass, like 6'6", 300-pound weirdo who got a machete stuck into his shoulder. You could survive that. So he gets up and walks his ass out of the shed, and he comes upon a little convenience store run by this guy, Harold. And you get about a 10 or so minutes at the beginning of the movie of Harold feeding fish and digging into his own merchandise because he's a fat ass before he and his wife eventually get iced. Then you get an epic 1982 credit scene, which you should look up on YouTube. The music totally has like a disco feel to it, and all the words and everything fly towards the screen just to really shove it down your throat that the movie's in 3D. Yo, Teddy, save that question for after. We can talk about that. Let me just zoom in on this picture. You're going to see Shelley back here. He's the practical Joker. Couple of two. I can't even remember their name because, you know, whatever. And then here's Chris. She's our protagonist for this one. Chris is a badass. You'll see why when you watch this movie. Couple of stoners right here. And then the hot Latina chick that Shelley wants to hook up with, but she's not interested. Standard protocol here. We got to introduce the audience to all the characters and kind of just waste some time, just really getting to know them, trying to create some type of investment. Although you really don't get invested in any of them, except Chris. After, you know, we spend half the movie just kind of wasting our time. The good shit always happens when it gets dark in these movies. Things are pretty much safe when it's daylight out. As soon as the sun sets, you know shit's going to go down. Well, for those of you who've been wondering, where does the mask finally make its first appearance? It's right here, because this moron Shelley is trying to scare hot bitch. I forget her name. I mean hot chick. Sorry. And he goes underwater with a little spear and the hockey mask. That's going to end up being in all the movies henceforth. She gets pissed at him, so he walks away and goes into the barn. That's where they're staying. And what Jason ends up coming out, you know, of course, he looks completely different in size and what he's wearing. But she falls for it and talks to him as though he's Shelley. This is the first time we see Jason. That's the first time we see Jason in the mask. He walks out onto the pier and he raises that, I guess, harpoon and shoots it right at her eye. And you get a nice 3D shot of that. But that's an iconic scene right there, because that's the first time Jason appears with the infamous hockey mask. And never to be taken off again. Again, like, that's pretty incredible, pretty significant. Just in general, like, movie history, somebody thought of that. Like, hey, how about this hockey mask? Let's use this. And they wrote a scene. And that was it. Now you have a character for the rest, forever. So, you know, whoever's idea that was, it's pretty incredible. So now Jason has his hockey mask. It's dark out. He's got to get to shredding. Now Chris and her boyfriend Rick have already left. I guess we'll call it a cabin. They've left the cabin. They went off in Rick's car. And Chris is telling Rick about a story from, you know, like a couple years ago, where she fell asleep in the woods and she was assaulted by a large, grotesque man. Apparently it was Jason. So she tells him the story, and then they decide to head back. Meanwhile, Jason's just going to town on these poor bastards. This is probably the most gruesome kill in the whole series. This dude straight up gets chopped in half, north-south wise, from balls to the belly button. Just brutal. Andy is his name. Now I remember. Poor Andy. That is some amazing special effects, guys. Amazing. Good fucking God. I love looking at that. Got another kill here. Old stoner dude, freaking Tommy Chong, goes down to check out the power situation, and Jason appears behind him. That is an intimidating looking son of a bitch right there. I would legit piss myself the second I saw him. Amazing. So when they get back to the cabin, Chris and Rick, they notice something's wrong. They find some bloody towels around. and they start to get concerned. I know, I am sick. Rick says, "I'll go check it out," and he heads outside. Total idiot move. So he leaves Chris alone inside. Well, when she sees some more stuff that concerns her in the house, she goes, "Rick, where'd you go?" He totally bails on her, like, "I'll be right back." She says, "Wait for me." He doesn't wait for her. Well, that's what he gets. This is a great scene. You'll have to watch it. The music, the wind is blowing. Just perfect setup. She opens the door, and Rick's over here being held by Jason. And you get a ridiculous 3D kill. I mean, it looks silly, but it's really fun. Jason ends up squeezing his head so tight that his eyeball comes flying out at the screen. And you can see, I mean, it's like on a push rod. It's so stupid, but it's awesome. He crushes his head. The guy's fucking strong. Yeah, Rick is right. Well, he ends up throwing Rick's corpse through the window in the kitchen. And, the typical chase scene. There's a reason why they call them final girls, because in all these movies, it's always a woman that's squaring off with this big hulking bastard and coming out on top. Really great chase scene in this movie. All kinds of suspenseful things happen. For instance, when she's trying to get away in the van, it runs out of fuel on a bridge. When apparently vans back then had a reserve tank switch, so she hits the reserve tank switch, but then the bridge kind of sinks in, so she can't get away. So good. So she goes into the barn and gets cornered by Jason. They have a little bit of a showdown. I won't spoil too much, but this is how he dies. Again, believable that he could come back from this. He gets an axe into the corner of his head, as you can see. And it's not buried in like 6 inches. It's like an inch or two deep into his giant, freakish skull. She ends up leaving him on the floor of the barn and goes out to a canoe, or a little rowboat, actually, on the lake, and wakes up the next morning. And kind of a throwback to Friday the 13th Part 1, only this time it's Jason's mother, whose head is miraculously reattached. The reason why is because, this is also a dream sequence. It doesn't really happen. So Jason's mother attacks Chris, and then she sees Jason wake up in the barn and start running. She's actually just hallucinating, and she's lost her mind. She's been through too much. But that's the end of Friday the 13th, Part 3. Really great movie. One of the best in the series. You get to see the hockey mask for the first time. And the music is fantastic. And I really like Chris as a protagonist. She's not like the others at all. She's got an edge to her. She's tough. She really hung in there against Jason very well. So far, we've seen Jason get, quote unquote, killed twice. But you can kind of suspend disbelief, and you can believe that he could come back from what's happened to him so far. That's not going to be the case at the end of this movie. This is where they jump the shark. But everything in Part 4 is also incredible. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. This really was supposed to be the final one. As I said earlier, though, the movie made so much money, they just couldn't turn away from it. They had to keep pumping them out. I mean, which makes sense. Anytime you've got something that doesn't cost a lot but has a huge ROI, I mean, you keep pumping it. Just reading chat, guys. Tiffany says, last scary movie I ever seen was Pumpkinhead, huh? Yeah, Cindy, good point. I've read that about a lot of these slasher films. That the killers, the actors that play the killers, try not to meet the would-be victims. All right, moving on. So, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, they really stepped it up. I mean, they were trying to go out on top. Couple of things going on here. They got some up-and-coming actors or some established actors in both cases. So there's going to be some recognizable faces in this movie. And they totally stepped up the gore and the nudity. I mean, everything was just amplified in this movie. Like, if we're going to go out, let's freaking go out on top. Let's introduce Friday the 13th, the final chapter. So it begins in the final scene from Friday the 13th, part 3, where Jason is lying in the center of the barn, and he still has the axe stuck in his head. Good job on continuity in these films, too, because that gash in the top right corner of his mask is there for all the remaining films. Well, except when he has a different mask on, but that's okay. So Jason's corpse is taken to the local morgue, and this guy right here is a total pervert, so he probably has it coming. But, I mean, this really sets the tone on the kills. He gets a hacksaw to his neck, and then his neck is twisted right off his goddamn body. Jesus Christ. First kill of the movie, and it is a good one. It is brutal. Then he goes down the hall and finds the attending nurse, plants her up against the wall, sticks the scalpel in about heart, and completely drags the scalpel down to her belly button through her entire body. Just insane, out of control on this goddamn movie. The kills are so good. Very brutal. The MPAA actually had them scale it back so that they would not get an X rating. It's pretty weird, considering what we see on movies these days. They really couldn't get away with much back in the day. So if you're ever curious and you're a fan of this stuff, on YouTube you can find the uncut version of these kills from the Blu-ray release, and it's pretty insane. It's worth it going to check out, because this clip gets extended like 5 seconds where he really drags that damn scalpel all the way down. The blood's just pouring on the ground. It's awesome. It's so good. So he escapes the hospital and makes his way back to Camp Crystal Lake. Recognize this guy? That's Crispin Glover, a.k.a. George McFly from Back to the Future. What about this guy? Last American Virgin. I think you guys are starting to, especially the people more my age or even older, you guys are going to recognize these people. Here's another one. Weird Science. Bear with me while I get myself another Jack and Ginger. And what about this guy? No, not him. Back it up. These two and her and a couple others are just hanging out at a cabin for the weekend. Just getting away from some debauchery. This guy is hunting Jason because his sister was killed by Jason. This guy, a young Corey Feldman. He is going to be the hero of this film. Moving on. On the way to camp, Jason comes across a hitchhiker. Naturally, she's got to get stabbed through the back of the neck because fuck her. Here's Crispin Glover's fate. I really recommend you watch the uncut version of this kill. I'll give you my interpretation of this. So he's in the kitchen and he yells, "Hey, Ted, where's the corkscrew? The corkscrew, Ted, where's the corkscrew?" And Jason fucking jams the corkscrew into his hand, pinning his hand to the fucking the counter. And then as he turns his head around, he fucking lays this machete right into his face. It is so brutal. It is awesome. Rest in peace, McFly. Couple more kills. You got your traditional axe to the chest. This young lady was floating out in a raft naked and got a knife shoved from her belly through her back. Yep, Teddy. Rip McFly. There's a couple other great kills in there. Really recommend this movie. So after he tears through all these young kids that are hanging out at the house doing drugs, drinking, fucking, then he comes across Tommy Jarvis and his sister. Well, he didn't know he was fucking with her. Tommy Jarvis and his sister are gonna play along with Jason here at the end of the movie. This is the climax. They have a little encounter here at Tommy's cabin, and then his sister Trish leads Jason back to the other house where all the killing happened. Well, while she's making chase for Jason, Tommy finds some newspaper clippings and finds old drawings of Jason Voorhees. So he decides, while Trish is trying to survive, he decides to shave his head and try and make himself look like a young Jason Voorhees. So when Trish and Jason make it back to this house, basically he becomes distracted or confused by this look. Tommy's telling Jason, "Remember, Jason, remember." He's trying to make him think about his childhood. Well, while he's distracted, Trish picks up the machete and knocks Jason's mask off. And he has managed to become even more grotesque than in previous installments. They really just kept upping it with each film. Well, now Jason turns around and he's pissed. So Tommy Jarvis picks up the machete. And this is the kill. This is the kill in the franchise where they really couldn't come back from this without making it unbelievable. So Tommy plants the machete into the side of Jason's face, quite deep. And then Jason falls down onto the machete and slides all the way down to the base. These special effects are incredible because his eye and his cheek and shit are moving around while he's sliding down the blade. It's totally disgusting. And this is where you can't suspend disbelief anymore. Nobody's coming back from this that doesn't have some type of supernatural power. Look at this shot. I mean, like I said earlier, they really thought they were ending the series right here. But you can't trust Hollywood executives, can you? Bastards. So they think it's over, and Tommy joins his sister in an embrace, but then he notices Jason's finger twitch. So he grabs the machete and just starts hacking the ever-living shit out of him, screaming, "Die! Die! Die!" Trish is very disturbed by this sight, but he finally stops and they go back to embracing. And on the last shot, you see Tommy Jarvis looking at the camera like he's going to be the next killer. Poor old Corey Feldman. Tommy Jarvis had a rough go on this series. Just going back, though, I hate to be a purist, but this is where Jason should have ended. As I do like the rest of the series. There's some good qualities. There's some good things about all of them. But these first four are really the best, and it's not even close. Let me turn it to chat. You guys have any questions about this series, or you want to talk about any other scary movies? You let me know. Let's talk. Bill, can you do some Disney Channel scary movies? Halloween Town or something? Hocus Pocus? I said scary movies. Candace says The Conjuring and Insidious. I don't love Insidious, but I like The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2 a lot. I like the older setting. You know, I like the premise, kind of like Ghost Hunters. The couple, it's based in like the 70s, right? I mean, it's just cool. It's a cool time setting. And those movies definitely gave me some scares. Okay, Olga, hold that thought. We can get into it. Robert McCauley busts out Phantasm. Okay. We can talk about Phantasm, dude. Really, only the first one's worth talking about. I figured it'd be apropos to put on the music. Listen to that for a second. So, the original Phantasm. Good movie. Fucked up movie, too. It's been a little while since I've seen the original, but basically the main character's name is Mike. And his older brother, Robert, what's his older brother's name? It's a girl's name. Type it in the chat when you think of it. There's also an older friend named Reggie, who's an ice cream man. But basically, I've never seen anything else like it, and especially for the time, in the late 70s when the Phantasm came out. And what you need to know is the main villain is someone called the Tall Man, played by Angus Scrimm. You'll never forget that name, but the Tall Man is fucking freaky. Yeah. He actually died like a couple years ago. Old Angus. But that is one of the coolest freaking characters ever in a horror movie. And I don't even know like how to describe Phantasm, because the weirdest shit happens in that movie. The Tall Man's holed up at a freaking cemetery, and there's all kinds of weird creatures and shit that happens. You guys have probably seen those silver balls with the spikes on them that fly around and gut people, and oh man, that movie still scares me though. The Tall Man. Yep, E-Man, Killer Metal Orb. Unfortunately, they just didn't, even though they made a lot of Phantasm movies, the first one was the only one that was really good. The second one was okay. But the first one still scares me to this day. Fucked up shit. Yeah, Robert says thank you for the $5 super chat, Robert. Says the Tall Man is the only movie character to ever scare me. Scary fucker. Couldn't be killed. He could just terrorize you and you couldn't escape him. Weird stuff. If you can find Phantasm, I recommend you watch it. Awesome special effects. And whoever thought up that shit is really deeply disturbed. Okay, Olga mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street. I like these movies. Yeah, thanks, Wendy's. I really like Nightmare on Elm Street. But nothing more than the first one. The first one was really revolutionary. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. But he came up with something. Just, how do you even think of that? How do you think of a burned man named Freddy Krueger with a claw that attacks people in their dreams? Like, what? I could never just think of something like that. The first Nightmare on Elm Street is head and shoulders above any other installment in that series. It was a legit horror movie. Later on, the series tried to get funny and really mix a lot of comedy. And it's fine because Robert Englund was great in the character. And it was always like a fun, guilty pleasure. 3, 4, 5. And they got progressively worse, honestly. But the first one is the best one. It's dark. The second one I didn't like growing up, but then after revisiting it as an adult, I actually really like the second one too. I like the ones that are like darker in tone, but when it starts just becoming entertainment with comedy and one-liners out of Freddy, it became take it or leave it. But if you're going to venture into Nightmare on Elm Street, make sure you watch the first two, and you could probably call it good after that, honestly. Let's put on some Nightmare on Elm Street music. Great music, by the way, too. Composed by Charles Bernstein, YouTube tells me. Excellent job, Charles Bernstein. This is pretty iconic. Cindy, that is a cool story. This is best Christmas gift I ever. I was 8 and got the Nightmare on Elm Street board game. My dad cut the wrapping paper to look like Freddy's knives had cut it. And he wrote on the tag, "Merry Christmas from Freddy." That's awesome. Okay. Let me take you. So that loud sound that comes in on the soundtrack, I'll never forget it. On the first Nightmare on Elm Street, right when that sound hits, that's when they show the title card. And it's this really kind of grotesque looking title that says Nightmare on Elm Street. And the words nightmare are just like really just, it's hard to describe, but they look ugly and blocky. And that loud sound hits right as it shows the word nightmare. At first, you're just kind of seeing some boiler room stuff. Let's just go back like 30 seconds and listen to it again. And you're seeing the character run through like the boiler room in her dream, and she's just kind of looking around. And it's scary, it's tense, it's setting you up like, what's going on here? And then it goes, when Nightmare shows up, you'll see. Right there. That just sets the tone for the whole movie. Whew. Amazing. See you, Laura. That's just a great piece right there. How good. My God, how has an hour gone by already? I could talk about these things all night. Let me just remind you guys, on Thursday, Charles is joining me. We're going to do some play from the Slot Museum. He's got some scary themed slots to choose from. It's going to be a good time. We always have a good time with Charles. Okay. Did anyone else have any suggestions, topics? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Delana. I hope he gets feeling better. Good music. Robert, don't send me things, damn it. Robert sent me this picture of slashers looking sexy. Of course, it's not going to show up. Let me turn the light on. It's worth it. I'll post it on my Facebook. Okay, Jennifer. I know it's stupid, but Blair Witch Project shook me to the core. I didn't know after seeing it in the movies it was fake. I was also 18 and wanted to believe. So, Jennifer, we're like the same age. I think I was 19 when it came out. And back then, like, the internet wasn't like today. They were releasing things about that movie, making it seem like it was really found footage, and we didn't know any better. So we went on opening night and went into that movie thinking this was legit footage that they found and were releasing. And I don't think I've ever been so just chilled to the core from a movie. You know what I mean? Of course, it came out a few days after that it was fake and it was bullshit. But wow, for like 48 hours there, I was like, oh my God, what did I see? No, you're not alone in that one. Scary time. They could never do something like that again with the internet the way it is now. So we were lucky to be young adults in that time. All right, Will. Relax about the damn Blair Witch. I don't think it was E-Man. Paranormal Activity didn't do anything for me. I don't care about those movies. I did the tour of the Mansfield Reformatory where they filmed Shawshank, and yes, it's supposedly haunted. I'm not going to lie, I was scared as shit being there. Intense, creepy feeling. Wayne says, Creeper? As in Jeepers Creepers? It's funny you bring that up because I think Jeepers Creepers 3 is actually out right now. And I'm sure it's terrible, but I want to see it nonetheless. Yeah. Jeepers Creepers. What do we have here? Jeepers Creepers would have been much better if the hot girl had taken her top off. Okay. Well, I'll talk about the movie and the monster. The monster, really cool idea. How many years is it between, like every 21 years or something, 23 years? the creeper comes out and he prays based on, he can smell fear. And, it's kind of crazy, but he'll basically eat people and, take something from their body because it needs to regenerate itself. In the end of that movie, it's Justin Long's eyeballs. Really creepy. But he's an unstoppable force. But I didn't love it at the end when the creeper spread its wings and kind of became a different thing. I really loved it when he was just like the fucked up dude in the trench coat driving that goddamn truck. That was fucked up shit, man. I'll never forget. Great opening to a movie too. Just the brother and the sister driving down the road talking. You get a feel for the relationship and you get invested in them early. They're really likable characters and you like their relationship. And after like 5 to 10 minutes of them just driving, talking about their lives, they encounter the creeper for the first time. And it is creepy. It's fucked up. And then you're just in the movie. There's not a lot of downtime like in Friday the 13th or anything. But driving that van with the Be Eating You license plate, throwing the bodies down the chute, just I love it when a movie like that comes out that is really original. Like it's something you haven't seen before and the tone is just perfect. The tone was perfect in that movie. The setting, like out in the middle of the Midwest, there's not a lot of things around. And the timing of it was perfect too because they didn't have today's technology. Even though it's a modern horror movie, it was still like, flip phone days where it was like, oh yeah, the cell phone's dead and they didn't have an extra battery or anything. You know what I mean? Just, it's good. Yeah, Will says number 2 was pure shit. It was definitely not as good as number 1. Not even close. Let me address Brad. He says, if anyone hasn't seen it, there is a really good Halloween movie called Trick or Treat. That movie is good. It really is. I was surprised. And it came out, for a while there was just some really dumb like horror movies or horror anthology movies. I didn't even give it a shot for several years, and then I ended up watching it. It's actually really good. You should check it out. Good point, Will. That's exactly why you want to see her boobs. Gina. E-Man says, best horror remake. Okay. Let's just talk about some horror remakes. First of all, the shit. That Nightmare on Elm Street reboot they tried to do. Terrible. Just terrible. I actually really liked the Friday the 13th reboot they did. I think it was 2009. It was a little campy. They had a ton of nudity. You know what I mean? And like some teen stars from the time and everything. But they did such a good job with Jason. Like, I really loved what they did with Jason in that movie. And just the setting and stuff. I would have liked to see a sequel to that, but unfortunately, it wasn't really well reviewed, and it didn't make a ton of money, so they had to drop it. Oh yeah, Good Year. The scene with the lady and the cats. Ugh. They are doing a reboot of Halloween next year. They're bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis. Super psyched. And Danny McBride is actually writing it. And John Carpenter signed off and said, I approve of this message. So I'm pretty stoked. I think that's going to be good. I think that's going to be really good. I also liked the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot. The one that came out in like 03 or maybe 02. The first one with Jessica Biel. I thought that was fucking well done. No, Rob Zombie Halloween. No, not good. There was a huge mistake. And look, I like Rob Zombie. Like, I love The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. You know, and he's passionate about horror too. So I love Rob Zombie. But he made a critical error with Halloween. The critical error he made with Halloween was he dove too much into Michael Myers' backstory. He tried to give Michael Myers a reason for being the way Michael Myers was. But that was the whole point of Halloween, is it was a mystery. No one knew why the hell he killed his sister that first night and why he came back on a rampage. So telling a backstory of Michael Myers was a huge mistake, and that pretty much ruined it. I saw Lords of Salem, E-Man. I didn't really like it that much. I haven't seen 31. Linda, the houses they used in the first Halloween is about 2 miles from you. That is awesome. Can you take pictures, please, and send them to me? I would love you forever. I'll put them on my Facebook. Another good one from the 80s that I really love and I think doesn't get enough credit is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Who's seen Killer Clowns? Yeah. Killer Clowns is really fun and awesome. Kind of ahead of its time. I can drop some more obscure stuff on you. One of my favorites from the 80s is a little film called Night of the Creeps. I don't want to say too much about it. All I can say is watch it. Find it on one of your channels and watch Night of the Creeps. That is a great 80s horror movie. Yeah, Cindy, when they wrap them up in cotton candy and drink the blood. It's funny, but it's actually kind of smart. Like it wasn't trying to be a serious horror movie. it was trying to be like a funny horror movie, and I think it succeeded. It was goofy. It was goofy, and I liked it. Um, Somebody go watch Night of the Crepes and then get back to me and tell me what you think. It was one of my favorites. I mean, I absolutely adore that movie. Candace asked about the Saw movies. I mean, at first, like really creative and new and interesting, and then by Saw 5 or 6 or whatever the hell, I'm bored. I've already seen this movie a bunch of times. You know what I mean? I Married Victor Newman says, Kish, I'd love that. You want a free Big Macs for a year card we won? How about this guy? How about cross-genre horror movies? I can tell E-Man knows his shit. Like Black Christmas. I actually did like the newer Black Christmas that came out like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I thought it was kind of fun. Candyman, yeah. I like Candyman. Again, like another original idea that came out. I'm always into that. Show me an original idea and then like put some production value into it, and I'm on board. Yes, Robert, I do remember Motel Hell. That is a fucked up movie. It had Cliff Clavin from Cheers in it. The old guy at the motel would bury people up to their necks, and he'd remove their voice boxes so they couldn't scream for help. It was so fucked up. I watched Motel Hell with my mom when I was like 18 years old. We went and rented it. Oh, Olga, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. And thanks for asking people to join my Patreon. Love you, Olga. You're the best. We're going strong at 17 patrons, by the way. Yeah, Robert. Good call out on Motel Hell. Motel Hell had kind of a cool theme song, too, by the way. Let's pull it up. Sometimes even the weirdest movies have nice scores. And a score is really important to a horror movie, or any movie for that matter. That's not it. That's not what I want to hear. Oh, yeah, Motel Hell had Wolfman Jack in it, too. Okay, well. YouTube doesn't really want to play the song for me. But I can play the movie.
sure he keeps his hands off her. I need your help.
Why?
You folks come back and see us again real soon.
It was...
Maybe I can find it. It's worth it. Trust me. It's good. I just saw a movie with a killer pumpkin eating people. No. Stephanie Steinsdorfer, if you mean Night of the Creeps, then we talked about it. Definitely an awesome movie.
I was brought up here, you know. Now I'm kind of glad I ran.
Yeah, Wayne said the ones I like are the movies that could really happen.
I guess there's gonna have to be some kind of investigation.
So for the most part, I agree with that.
You mean arson?
I don't know. That's what I do. It's an evil motel.
All right, I might have found the song I wanted to listen to. Or not.
So what?
Too bad.
7.
What the heck?
Well, all I can say is if you get a chance to watch Motel Hell, it has a good score. Kind of makes me want to watch that movie again. Guess I'm not doing the fantasy show tonight. It's already 10. Did you see the new Frankenstein movie? Oh, whoops, that was just Mark Cuban on Tucker Carlson. Fucking hell. Francis says the people under the stairs. It's okay. Drew B. Wentz is my QB for fantasy, tearing it up. Same here. I got him on 2 of my 3 teams. Yeah, Mothman Prophecies was okay. That wasn't bad. Yeah. Yeah, Beetlejuice and Young Frankenstein are epic. Ooh, that's a lot to cover there, Linda. What about Carrie? I really like Carrie. I've only seen it twice. Pet Cemetery is just fucking creepy to me. They did such a good job with that kid. Cujo, okay, whatever. And the original It, yeah, it scared the shit out of me when I was 10, but then you watch it as an adult and you're like, whatever. Did see the It remake, though. You know what? That might be my answer. Someone asked, what's the best horror movie remake? Unless I think of something else, I think It might be the answer. That movie was really well done. I liked it a lot. Have you seen the new Pumpkin Massacre movie? Oh, that's just Andy Dalton sucking up the field again. Oh, yeah. Now you're talking my language. Olga says, anyone see Monster Squad? My response to that is, Wolfman's got nards. Drew B. The Blob, the old school one, looks like. Yeah, the 80s Blob was actually kind of cool. Kevin Dillon. You know, some of the special effects are a little dated, but they had some cool kills. I mean, they made like a legit horror movie out of the Blob, not just a goofy premise. I mean, I think if I recall, there's like a scene where Kevin Dillon is riding his motorcycle away from the Blob, and it looks terrible. But you know, you just gotta go whatever. But they had some gruesome kills in that movie, which I always like. Yeah, don't trip over your dog. Carolyn King, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Which one? Hi, Steph. Welcome. Oh, your video's not working? That sucks. I was just swinging my wiener around on screen. You missed it. Damn, you guys are throwing all kinds of shit at me. Yeah, Swamp Thing doesn't hold up that well. You did get to see Adrienne Barbeau's boobies, so that was cool. But overall, not a great movie. Thank you, Kish. It was huge. Thank you. Dude, Steph M says, my favorite scary movie is I Saw the Devil. That movie is so fucked up. Oh my God. I love that movie. You're talking about the one where the police officer has his fiance killed and then he chases the killer, right? I Saw the Devil. If so, everybody should watch that movie. That is so fucking awesome. I've been trying to get my wife to watch that, but she doesn't get into Japanese movies or Korean movies the way I do. But fuck. Yeah, Wayne, looking at my bank account scares me too. Yeah. Olga, I think you're talking about Yeah, it does. You're talking about the gate where they have the hole in their backyard? Yeah, Stefan, that's a good call out. Not really necessarily a horror movie, but that is a good ass fucking movie. I Saw the Devil. Everyone should watch it. Really twisted, really suspenseful. Anyway, Olga, I think you were talking about The Gate from the 80s. That's a pretty messed up movie. Total 80s movie. Keep throwing them at me. Keep throwing them at me. Yeah, it is creepy. Those little dudes running around. I think we'll do about 15 more minutes tonight. You know, we're going to do this again on Friday. No, Will, I didn't see that. Yeah, Cabin Fever was messed up. I liked it. Really gross. Oh, thanks for the sub, bad old mama. Okay, Martyrs, I haven't seen yet, but I've heard about it. Like, in detail, I've heard about it, and I want to see it. I heard it's really disturbing. Steph M, I like your taste. Movie night? You've been watching for months. That's awesome. Welcome to the slot family. I'm not even reading it. It's funny. Yeah, Wayne, House of a Thousand Corpses. That, and of course, The Devil's Rejects. That's a good little pair of movies. Pretty disturbing. I feel like House of a Thousand Corpses is kind of like just Rob Zombie's his own kind of take on like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it still feels original, which is good. I liked The Devil's Rejects even better. That's just a screwed up movie. Alone in the Dark with Jack Palance and Martin Landau. Is that? Maybe not. Yeah. Yeah, Human Centipede. That was just like for shock value. It was a fun watch. Yeah, Drew B. The Devil's Rejects. Awesome, messed up movie. That whole motel room scene was just like, ugh. And that stuff's scary because it's like, that's believable. Like, that could happen. Yeah, Serpent in the Rainbow. That's from the 80s, right? Yeah, I said that earlier, Steph. You missed that. Someone mentioned Lords of Salem. I said the same thing. Garbage. House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. Really good. But lately I haven't been loving it. I actually just watched his Halloween remakes again. I think the first one's better than the second one. But the second one definitely dropped off. And then Lords of Salem, I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, I Spit on Your Grave's cool. The old one. What about Wrong Turn? Did anyone watch Wrong Turn back in the early 2000s? That's a pretty fucked up movie. Kish, you only need one ranch, girl. Watch the Japanese versions of Ring and Grudge. Ringu, and then the thing is, I know people like to say watch the original, the Japanese, but the thing is, and of course I'm gonna forget his name, the guy that directed Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff. He directed The Ring. I feel like an ass for forgetting. Gore Verbinski. He did an amazing job. The Ring US version is a fucking awesome horror movie. I don't care who you are. And I liked The Grudge too. Like, they did those movies pretty, a lot of justice, I think. Like, really scary. Nora says, have you seen Wolf Creek? Yeah. Just like I was talking about earlier, when I say when something really could happen, That makes it fucked up. So Wolf Creek is fucked up for that reason. Yeah, Wolf Creek's fucked up. E-Man says there's that new Ring movie out. Yeah, it's called Rings. I haven't watched it yet. I watched the preview and I was just like, you're gonna fucking like Ring 2 was already shit. It should have just ended after the first one. The first one is so good. Olga, are you gambling? Oh, Neely is live now, gambling? Okay, that sounds like fun. We'll give it 3 more minutes. Any last shout outs? If not, you can just save them for Friday. Because I think we can talk some more horror. Maybe I'll put together another presentation if you guys want that for Friday. If not, you can hang on to any of your topics. And we'll get back to regularly scheduled programming next week. But this is my channel, and I can talk about whatever the fuck I want. Especially when I don't have any guests with me for Christ. Yeah, Maria, we're too deep. We definitely did the Jack and Ginger. Yeah, Steph M. The first Silent Hill movie was really well done. Really well done. They really captured that. The whole like essence of Silent Hill in that movie. Ugh. Oh, you're at the casino in a room right now. Fuck yeah. You should go live, Olga. Or just take videos and send it to me and I'll put it on my channel. What the hell? Just because I'm that kind of guy. Is that so, Wayne? He's resurrecting the devil's rejects? Okay. I can get excited about that. Okay, so we've been going on almost 2 hours now. I think we can make way for Neely and let him do his live play from the casino. I'll go watch him, check it out. I love live casino streams. Think about what you guys want to talk about on Friday. Make sure you're here on Thursday. Olga, if you want to drop some links for me, I'd appreciate that. On Thursday, we're going to be with Paylines and from the Slot Museum. We're going to play some scary themed slots. Nice. We love it when Paylines comes. And 2 weeks from tonight, I'll be in Vegas live streaming. Pretty goddamn excited. Staying at the Encore. Pretty nice room. And yeah, Olga, I know. Still, you could always try. So make sure you set your calendars for that Vegas trip. By the way, in case you guys aren't here, I will be. Will Durant, you be nice to Olga, you son of a b. Timeout, bitch. Yeah, you would know, huh, Bonsai? I'm excited. I'm excited. The pictures of the room anyway looked good. What time? I don't know. I don't know yet. I'm going for my anniversary, so. But I'm going to be there for 3 nights. I'm going to be meeting up with VLR on one of those nights, and we're going to do some gambling together, possibly even live. So be ready. It's going to be amazing. I'm pretty excited about it. That's right, Vegas, baby. And make sure you guys have all still set your calendars. April 5th, 6th, and 7th. I'm going to be there. Maya's going to be there. Slot Titan's going to be there. I think Casino Man CT and his wife are going to be there. I think Olga's going to be there. Some of my other viewers are going to be there. Like, we're going to have a get together. It's going to be amazing. So lots of stuff on the agenda. Lots of stuff coming up. But for this week, we're just celebrating Halloween, talking about some scary shit, playing some scary slots, and swinging dicks. So, yeah, thanks, Teddy. And I think Friday we'll also do the fantasy show again. All right, guys. Thank you so much for everything. Check out the Patreon. Order some shirts so we can wear our McLaven gear to the casino and rep that shit together. And think about some new some new scary movies you want to talk about on Friday. Make sure you're here on Thursday for our shit with Paylines. It's going to be incredible. Get your drinks ready. All right, Slot Family. Hashtag Slot Family. Love you guys. You're the best in the business. We'll see you next time.